I was stuck in a 9-to-5 for over 2 years before I made my first $1 million. And the good news for you is you don't have to quit that job to start your business. You just need a proven method that you can do outside of normal work hours. I was making over $10,000 a month before I ever quit my 9-to-5 and went full time. So in this video, I'm gonna lay out exactly how you can do both at the exact same time. So the very first step is you have to pick a niche that solves a main problem. And every human being, luckily for you, is exactly the same. It's gonna be in the health, wealth, or relationship niche, meaning every single action a human being takes, no matter who it is doing something to get more in that area. I do these videos because yes, I want to help people, but I want to make more money, right? I want to develop, I want to push myself. I might go to a therapist because I want to have a better relationship. I might go to the gym because I want more health. That's why we're doing things. We're not just doing things to do them, we're doing them because of what we might achieve or what we might gain. Now for me, I started with fitness because that's what I knew. But now, even if you don't have a skill, you can go to places like Allison.com, and I'm not affiliated at all. You can learn a free skill, or you can go to Udemy.com, or you can click the link down below and join my free community where you can learn how to build businesses for free. There's so much knowledge out there, there really is no excuse. So pick in one of those sectors, learn a skill in that sector, and if you don't have the skill, there's plenty of places you can go and learn one. But to be honest with you, that's all for nothing if you don't look into hiring a coach. So my own experience with this is at the age of 23, I just dropped out of college to start my business. When I started my business, I didn't really know that this was a world. Like YouTube still to me, like wasn't that big. This was back in probably 2017. And I was kind of just doing things on my own. And I didn't realize that there was a coaching industry for this, or people could teach how to grow businesses. So for the first 2 years, I made $2,000 total. $1,000 per year working full time. Like I'm not actually joking, working full time. Imagine working full time, 24/7, no days off, no holidays, no vacations, no girls, no day, nothing. And I wasn't making any money. And then I finally saw an ad, I got desperate. I was about to go back to school and finish my degree. I had a year left. I saw an ad on Facebook and it says how to start an online fitness business. I clicked on the ad and I went into the program. I paid $5,000 on a credit card, didn't have it. And I made 10K my first week. Is that the only reason I'm gonna take 10 the first week? Absolutely not, but that was a catalyst to having a concise plan. A lot of people, they don't understand when you go on the internet, there's a million people telling you different things, even me. And so you're always wondering, does this guy know anything compared to the other guy? And then you're contrasting and comparing. And so when you pay to play, people will tell you exactly what you have to do. And so it cuts out all the guessing game. And that was invaluable to me. And I went on for the next 6 years to do $115 million. That actually happened. It's a real life story. You need to make sure that you hire a coach. It doesn't matter if it's me. It doesn't matter if it's for free. It doesn't matter if it doesn't really matter. Just have someone who's been there and done what you're trying to do because it goes so much faster. And if you can pay to put yourself in that room and hit your goals and make your goals inexcusable, like they have to happen, you will absolutely reach it. And that was one of the biggest mistakes I made. But if you don't block the first 90 minutes of your day, you're not going to go anywhere. So when I first started my business, I had a full-time job. That's what this whole video is about. And I didn't have time to just stay at home and work on my business all day, which is an absolute cheat code, by the way, when you finally get to full time. So what I would do is I would wake up super early and the first 90 minutes or so of the day, I would block. What that would help me do is I could get deep work done. So now my deep work's a little different. Like I'll get up, I'll go to the gym, I'll come back, I'll start doing deep work, then I have a team call. But when I first started, I would get up and do some work, then go to the gym. And the reason for that was time that I didn't know if I would have time in the rest of the day. So those 90 minutes were super helpful. And then when I came home from work, I went right back to it. And it's like anything. I think if you don't block time or you don't make the time, it's simply not going to happen. You need to make sure that you have at least 90 minutes that you block in the morning so you move the needle each and every day, because some days you'll wake up, you're like, I'll get to it later. And whenever you procrastinate things, you never know if they're going to get done. It's like the gym. The reason I do the gym first thing in the morning is I know the longer the day goes on, it's less like I'm going to go to the gym. So if I go right when I wake up, I don't have to worry that I didn't go later in the day. Now, hopefully during those 90 minutes that you blocked out, you actually built your program. And by building your program, here's what I mean. You haven't built it at all. Meaning that the way I actually started delivering my fitness service was I started by just doing Zoom calls with people. Let's say if you signed up with me with Business Consulting, would you rather go through a course? Or would you rather get on a Zoom call with me? And the funny part is people would rather get on a Zoom call. So in the beginning, the easiest way to start selling your service is do none of the fulfillment, because if you don't have a client, there's nothing to fulfill. I'll see a lot of people build out fulfillment for 2 or 3 months. Then they go to sell it and they can't sell anything. And so they did all this fulfillment for nothing. So what you want to make sure you do is just start on Zoom calls With the Zoom calls, people are going to love it. They're going to think they're getting more value than they pay for. And then based on how the Zoom calls go, you can take those, edit and record them and put them in your curriculum. That becomes a curriculum, or you know the questions they're asking and you can build out the curriculum from there. And then as long as you just stay one step ahead, as new clients come in, they benefit from the new videos that you make. That is the absolute best way to start building out your curriculum, because a lot of people will waste a lot of time. They treat their business like Shark Tank. People go on Shark Tank, they spend 2 years, they've mortgaged, they have loans, everything's tied up in this business, and they go to sell and it doesn't sell because it's a shitty product. What you want to do here is, in case that happens, if you go to sell it first, the market will tell you it's not good, or they will tell you, hey, you don't have the skills necessary, selling skills, messaging skills, etc. You can fix that before you waste 1, 2, 3 years of your life. That's why I never build stuff before and I always build it after. Now, a lot of people see me make millions of dollars through ClickFunnels, and so they think that you have to have a funnel to make your first sell. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that's how I made my first sell. In fact, the first sales I made was I just reached out to followers on my social media. So my friends list on Facebook, my friends list on Instagram. I reached out to those individuals, said, hey, they should follow me. What's your fitness goal? And that started a conversation that then led to a sales call and led to closes. You would be shocked at how easy it is to make money with social media if you're willing to learn sales. It's super easy. It's a volume game. So when people say, hey, if you want to go on 100 dates with 100 women, you probably would have to ask, I don't know, 1,000 women, 500 women. Like, no one's going to bat an eye. Everyone's like, yeah, like some girls will say yes, some girls will say no. But then in business, people think it's crazy to spend that much time trying to make sales. But this is what's going to change your life. And so if you simply go out and you're just reaching out to your social media following, even if it's small, usually for every 100 people you reach out to, you'll get 30% will reply, so 30 people. Then you'll book about 6 calls and you'll close 2 or 3 deals. That can make you a ton of money, especially if you're selling $1,500, $3,000 packages. So you want to make your first sales without any funnel, any tech, because a lot of people spend way too much time on that before they've actually made an initial sale. Once you make the initial sale, then the business, you can start to add complexity to it. This actually reminds me of our client, Connor Jarby, who came into our program working a full-time job. And then within 4 months, not only tripled his investment with us, but then was starting to do it full time. And he started in that exact same process by just simply reaching out to his followers, getting a couple initial sales. Once those sales actually overtook his 9-to-5 income, he completely branched off and then started doing it full time. And then the ball really started rolling. So if you can dial in that process, it's really not a huge risk to leave your 9-to-5. The thing is, people think you have to leave the 9-to-5 to start the business. In reality, if you can get those initial sales and it outpaces your 9-to-5 income, then you can go full time. And when you're full time, I'm telling you, it makes the absolute difference in the world. You'll be 10xing your output compared to if you're working part time. Now, another cheat code is simply just work on the weekends. It's crazy to me how many people will work Monday through Friday and then take 2 days off. And so when they take 2 days off on Monday, they're trying to catch up from the weekend. What I try to do, and the way I think about business, is during Monday through Friday, I'm holding down my present. What I've currently built, that's what I'm holding down. In your case, if you're starting new, that's what you're building. Then on the weekends, I'm forging ahead. I'm doing more things. So one of the things I would do on the weekend is run the coaching calls, right? And I would iterate the program, or I would fix the program, or I make adjustments. And the reason I did that is during the week, I was so busy trying to make sales and do outreach, client coaching calls, that I would move the less important stuff to the weekends so I could get stuff done. And you guys have to be willing to sacrifice your weekends. A lot of people, if you're only trying to work Monday through Friday, and then you want to take weekends off, that sounds great in theory, but I think you have to put in a lot more effort initially before you can take that time off. And I'm just saying that from personal experience. If you're able to pull off what I've done without doing that, good for you. But I put in an enormous amount of effort to get to where I am today. Now, on top of working a little bit more on the weekends, one of the things you need to make sure you're doing is track 3 key metrics. What I have written down is calls booked, cash in, and then conversations. And so when you're starting the business, you don't have a lot of staff, you don't have a lot of overhead, you don't have a lot of things to focus on. So it's very simple. What activities are going to drive more sales? To get more sales, you usually need more sales calls. To get more sales calls, you need to have more conversations. So if I'm tracking how many messages I'm outreaching today, how many calls I book, and then how many sales I've made, so cash in, I know if I'm doing the inputs to get the outputs. And that's all you have to focus on in business. You don't have to focus on the outputs. You don't have to focus on what other people do. You have to focus on the inputs. And so for an input, if I made a goal to send 100 messages a day, and 30 people usually reply, and I get 6 sales calls, and let's say I suck at sales, so I close 1, and I'm able to do that on a continual basis, well, you can guesstimate what you're going to make by the end of the week, or what you're going to make by the end of the month. A lot of people, they'll look at a business and say, it's not working. I say, what are your inputs? What have you done to get the outputs? And they'll go, oh, I don't know. I don't have any numbers. I'm not tracking anything. It's very simple, because when you track those 3 key metrics, it's only 3: messages sent, calls booked, cash in, or sales, right? You know if you're doing the inputs to grow the business. And what's cool is when you focus on those inputs, the more inputs you do, the more the business will grow. Then you can start, working on paid ads and stuff like that after it. But keep it super simple, because in the beginning, those 3 key metrics will absolutely blow up the business. Now, you may be asking, this all sounds great in theory, but when do I actually know to quit my 9 to 5? In my opinion, it's to set a frame number. So at the time, I was making $3,000 a month as a full-time income in my job, right? I was a server, wasn't that great. So I said, hey, as long as I'm making at least $3,000 a month in this new business, I'll go ahead and quit so I can go full-time. Now, luckily for me, finally after 2 years of making nothing, I went to 10K in the first week, so it gave me a huge cushion. I felt like, man, I got 3 months to figure this out. So I just completely quit and went all in. But if the goal for you is, hey, I'm gonna replace my income, set that as your goal. If the goal is, hey, I need to have 2 times my income, okay, set that as a goal. But be realistic in what it's gonna take to get there, because some people, in my opinion, they wanna make too much. Meaning, they're like, hey, I want to get to 10,000 a month, but they're only putting in enough work to get to 3,000 a month. So make sure you set a freedom number is what I call it, but make sure your inputs match the freedom number. And last but not least, go all in when it makes sense. So for me, once I made $10,000 in that first week, I went all in, because the last 2 years I'd been part-time trying to build this business. I'd gone nowhere. I made $2,000 total. And then as soon as I made 10 grand in the first week, when I started implementing some of these principles that I just shared with you, it was a no-brainer. I said, hey, I make $3,000 a month. That's about what I need to survive. I got 90 days to figure this out. And I went all in, and things absolutely started to roll from there, and it completely changed my life. If you want to see how fast you can make 10K, click here.